Okay, so this is a situationer, Sydney. Kasi ganito daw yung kausap. Okay, and the person says, ganito talaga ako, take it or leave it. How to deal with people with this mentality, right? Do we accept this mentality? When can we say, sige, pwede na, or sumusobra na siguro to? Ganito ako eh. Diba? Ganito ako eh. Take it or...
diba, you know, what's the definition of trustworthiness? Character and competence. Diba?
Yes, character and competence. You're right.
So someone who speaks like this shows you a little bit about the character already. It's hard to discipline that. No, I mean it's hard to change that. No? So that to me as a manager, for example, so this is the consequence for this if you do this one. That means kasi you want to fail. No, you want to fail. Now, you see, yung ganito talaga ako, you have to define what are knowledge and skills and what are patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Knowledge and skills can be taught, and that's easy. That's the easiest thing to do. Yung patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving, they are either at the balcony, meaning you're mature, or nasa basement, meaning to say, talagang raw pa. Pero alam mo, like for example, a competition person, we always try to fight others, right?
Yeah.
Pero the mature competition person will fight a different fight. He will always want to win.
Yeah.
But will be at a different level that is not offensive to others naman, no? Of course you're going to get hurt because you're going to lose to the competitive person. But it will be in a mature way. Someone who's speaking like this is a little bit immature. So as a manager or even as a parent, you have to let them grow in terms of character, because that's I think we have to be stern. We have to be stern with them, right?
In fact, ang take ko sa question na to, in my experience and with what I've heard of coaching teams and managers, part of the ganito talaga ako, take it or leave it, is its close cousin na sino mag-a-adjust. Which is what parang the second, right? Do I accept this mentality? Do I adjust and sige pwede pa? Or do I not budge and parang sumusobra na to, di ba? And I share with managers and leaders that that's a trap to think na sino mag-a-adjust. Because if we're talking about a shared result, the actions also have to be shared. So tell them, bottom line, pareho kayo mag-a-adjust. Ang tanong kung anong kailangan adjustment ang kailangan gawin at kung ano ba yung gusto ninyong makuha. Right? Because then, right, there's a context behind this. And this is something I want to share with everyone, right? And going back to Sydney's point, right, you have to name the context, be clear with the situation or the problem where this is being said, because this can be said to something deep, and it can be something that's really stopping the person from success that maybe the person wants to improve on. Pwede, di ba? Na I want to be more friendly, I want to be more outgoing, pero shy ako, ganito talaga ako eh. Di ba? Take it or leave it. Or this could be used as an excuse.
Right.
Di ba? I don't have the, Sydney, I don't have the skills, knowledge, hindi ako ganun mag-isip, hindi ako nakapag-aral sa ganito, wala akong experience sa ganito, hindi ako galing sa ganyan. Diba? And that's used as an excuse.
Right? But you see, you need to note how you said it compared to take it or leave it. Yes. Take it or leave it has a certain connotation, no? That doesn't show respect also, no?
That's true.
And it shows defiance.
May interview tong nakapila. to say something like this. Nakapagpasa na yan na CV. Nakapag-update yan.
I think if I may jump into the conversation on this here, I like what Sydney mentioned about yung character and competence. And I think it actually relates also to what you said earlier about knowledge and skill. Where competence really is primarily that's your knowledge and skill. What are you capable of? What do you bring to the table? And then your patterns of thinking, behaving, they might speak a little bit more about your character. But I also like how you mentioned, Sydney, that there is the, as we call it in the strengths framework, there's the basement and then there's the balcony being the more mature. And I think it depends on, I guess, as you put it, Lippy, the context of where this comes out. But I'd say that it's also worth pointing out ano yung consequences, as you both have pointed out in the previous questions. Like, for example, kunyari sinabi ng tao to sa'yo, then maybe I'd say, okay, if that's, depending on the situation and how urgent it is, so to speak, then maybe one route would be to say, okay, if this is you and this is how you say you insist on behaving or insist on being, then these are the consequences of your behavior, of your actions. Or if maybe if you're a bit more patient, then maybe it's worth asking the question, how do you think this will result? I'll relate it again to my experience of being a father. So as they say, yung mga kids, like kids, the age of my kids or our kids, they're 4 and 2. They say at that age, it's really about themselves. It's a selfish framework, so to speak, initially, and that's just natural. But what they say also is if you want them to learn to socialize and be with other people, you have to give them enough leeway to understand what are the consequences. So if they push their playmate, yes, the tendency is nakakahiya sa ibang magulang, so pipigilan mo. But then if you never allow them to do something, like push their sibling, push their playmate, then they will never realize that no one will want to play with them. Kasi yun yung consequence, di ba? Or kung tayo as grown-ups, or as adults, if we scream and fight with everyone that we relate with, eventually, no one will want to play with us, figuratively or literally, whether on the basketball court, the football pitch, or in the boardroom. Eventually, it's going to be, you may be CEO, but you'll be very lonely at the top. No one will want to have lunch with you.
For the wrong reasons.
Yes, diba? Even if you say I have an open door, even if you tear your door down, no one's going to approach you if you scream and shout at everyone. So those are the consequences. And I think part of maybe the learning curve and maybe where they will have to make their own decisions will be when they recognize that those are the consequences. If you're forever going to say in life, ganito talaga ako, take it or leave it, it's likely that, to my mind, of course, I'm making quite a number of assumptions here, but it's likely that most people will say, okay, I'll leave it. It's just a question of when that's going to happen. Are they going to leave immediately, or are they going to stick with you for a while and then say, you know what, I'm fed up. I have nothing more to give to you, and just walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what if pawang sinabi sa'yo, ganito talaga ako trustworthy and loving, take it or leave it.
Well, then I guess it goes back to then asking them, how loved do you think the people around you feel? Or how much do you think the people around you trust you? And maybe leave it and let it sit for a moment without judging. Because if I say, tingin mo ganyan ka, then obviously it's a judgment on my end. And they're not gonna take that.
and Sid, we're sharing because we also have a comment here from Maria Rita again. So she's saying it's important to maybe inform the team up front, like what are, and this is something we do, right? What are your natural talents, strengths, what are you good at, so that people know, or what are the different approaches, what's natural for you. Like, for example, I usually tell the teams that I work with that it's natural for me to always look at the loopholes and the holes and what needs to be fixed. So don't take that negatively, and we're understanding each other on what you're saying, Sydney, yung how patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving as well.
Yeah. Can I share something? Sabi nga nila, one of our biggest fears is public speaking, and that's because we don't want people to see us for who we really are, or else we might, we might not be accepted, right?
Right.
Kaya napakahalaga yung team effectiveness to show, to be able to be accepted for who we really are. And I guess in the book of Patrick Lencioni, the 5 dysfunctions of a leader, yung
right.
The trust, the foundational one is trust. It's not about trust means being able to accept people, both from their areas of strength and from their areas of weakness. No? So napakahalaga noon, no? I think and that's and to put this comment more in a positive note, no? Parang I think there's a there's this hunger for or need for to be accepted, no? And can you do that? So kaya napakahalaga for managers, for parents, to be able to make an effort to listen, no, to understand, no, to see, and maybe from there the magic happens. Meaning, he'll try to change, no, or he'll try to be more respectful, or I'll try the new ways, no.
May follow-up question doon, Sid. Do you have a follow-up question to that one? No? Pinatatanong, paano daw kung matanda na yung kausap mo dito, hindi bata? May room to grow pa daw kaya. Tapos di mo maalisan yung situation.
I have a good example for that.
I
have a very good example for that. Okay. 22, 23 years ago, I talked to this, 50, 60-year-old guy who has 3 sons and a daughter. And he's an assistant vice president in one of the local banks. And he didn't have any good relationships with the sons. And the sons hated him, actually. So, but what he did was he was studying the 7 habits. And I was kind of awed by it. No? Sabi ko, he's studying, no? He's studying the 7 habits. And he truly wanted to learn. So to me, I thought that was an opportunity to coach him and help mend the relationships, no? And you know what? He was he turned around things, no? The relationships got better. What's the point? The point is there has to be openness on the side of the man or any person, no, to go through that change. Because if not, then wala eh. Pero at least there has to be persons around who can influence it.
I think if I may jump in, I like that you shared that, Sydney. And I think one of the things I took away from there is you said there needs to be openness. While I was taking notes when you were speaking, I wrote the word desire. So I think there needs to be a desire from the end of the person to grow or to develop. And I think one of the things that we sometimes ask, whether it's managers, bosses, even partners, people giving feedback even, sometimes miss is to go back again to your earlier point on being clear about the intent. I think it's worth asking the question, is the intent really for the good of this person or the betterment of everyone? Or sometimes what we, I think, tend to do is we want them to be more like us. What we think to be correct, what we think to be the way of doing things. And I think if they feel that way, it becomes very difficult because it's almost as if we're forcing them to let go of themselves and not allowing them to be themselves. Recently, I was reading the book of Brené Brown, Gifts of Imperfection, and there she distinguishes between belonging and fitting in. And she very clearly says that, to your point, belonging is about being able to, I guess in a way, feel secure being yourself, while fitting in is being forced to fit this mold and basically being told, ganito yung mga tao dito. How well do you think can you fit in? And I think when people begin to feel that there's this mold that we're forcing them into, then I think human nature, maybe your fight or flight, maybe your self-preservation, simply says, sorry, ganito ako. Never mind, take it or leave it. But if there's a clearer mutual benefit at the end of the tunnel, then I think there will be a bit more openness. Not to say na walang resistance. Of course there will be. But any change, I think, will meet resistance. But if there's a clarity of that end goal, then I think it will be easier.